Well, welcome back. Chaser Tech is now trees and truck stops. And if you want to know why, it's because I think it should be illegal to name something Chaser anything that doesn't have anything to do with chasing. Right now, my channel is completely covered up by a video game channel that plays MMORPGs. Who knew? Trees and Truck Stops is much more Googleable, much more searchable, and I think explains what we're doing here a little better. Now, where have I been? Well, I've learned about the joys of transhumanism. And, well, when you learn anything about that, all you want to do is be depressed and sit around and watch Alex Jones.
Don't hold your baby next to your skin. They already done psychological testing in England, the United States, and Germany, showing the children would have shrunken brain.
But we have a whole lot of new content lined up for you, and we're making it probably as you're watching this video. So what we're going to start with is scanners. I'm Beating Barry. You're watching Trees and Truck Stops. Just as a little bit of note here, this is the first episode shot on my new Nikon D5600 DSLR. Nikon's not sponsoring me or endorsing me in any way and isn't sponsoring this video, so I'm just going to let you know that ahead of time. But if it turns out looking a little better than normal, that's probably because this is an awesome camera. And if it turns out looking a little worse than normal, it's probably because I've never owned a DSLR and I need to learn how to actually use the damn thing. So scanners, radio scanners. What's in a scanner and what do you need one for? Well, I've had several conversations with several chasers and spotters over the years. Some of them swear by radio communications, like myself. And some of them don't. Some of them have partially or completely eschewed it. I know one rather well-known chaser who used to scan everything, then just scanned the storm spotters, then just scanned 146-550, and now they just listen to NOAA. Well, modern scanners can help even those people. And here's why I think every storm chaser, not just the radio guys, but every storm chaser should have a scanner in their vehicle. The old argument, systems are only getting more advanced all the time, doesn't apply anymore. You're not going to be buying scanners these days and then not have them be future-proof. That's just not how it works any longer. Scanner manufacturers have realized that their product is expensive and that it needs to be upgradable. The old argument that, well, the scanners that exist are only for modern technology and in 5 years there's going to be new technology and I'll have to get rid of it and it'll be worthless and I've got to spend another $500 on another new scanner. That's no longer the case. Number one, these new scanners are completely firmware upgradable. The Uniden BCD996P2, for example, the one that I use, it started out able to receive analog, LTR, legacy type, analog trunking, P25 phase 1 and 2. But now they've added support for NextEdge and IDAS Digital, including trunking features of NextEdge and IDAS Digital. DMR, Moto Turbo, tiers 1, 2, and 3. It will successfully and easily track Connect Plus and Capacity Plus trunking systems on DMR. And is the only scanner that I know of at all that will receive Harris Pro Voice. Harris Pro Voice is on its way out, but there's still many major systems, especially in the planes, that use Harris Pro Voice. So that old argument, right on out the window. Look at the SDS 100 and the SDS 200 for any further proof that scanners are getting future-proofed. The next one is, what do I need to know what public safety's doing? I don't want to get pulled over, and then they'll think I'm trying to be a cop or whatever. Scanners have only been around 45 years, 50 years. The police know they exist. It's not out of the ordinary to find one in a car when you pull someone over, so that argument doesn't hold water. What that will allow you to do is know where the roadblocks are going to be ahead of time so that you can get past them first. Okay, that's number one. Number two, you'll be able to hear inner fire department chatter, EMS department chatter, public works is a huge one. You'll be able to tell where the damage is. If you're a media chaser that shoots damage, you're going to want to know where that is pretty quick before anybody else does. This is just another tool in your toolbox. Of course, other media chasers may also have a scanner and you're going to be racing them to get there, but at the same time, why deprive yourself of a tool that everybody else has? Get one. Get one. It's that easy. And number three, scanners have taken NOAA weather radio to a new height. Now, we know that NOAA weather radio is given the alert right around the same time as NWS chat, which is given that right around the same time that emergency management is given that information. So you want your warnings and your watches and everything as fast as humanly possible. You want updates as fast as possible. And NOAA weather radio is one of the few ways that any storm chaser and any civilian can get. No special passwords needed. No need for an MIC to say, yeah, he can have an account. NOAA weather radio, it's a frequency. You just listen to it and it talks to you and tells you things you need to know. So why not have the best of the best, the closest and the latest? And what I mean when I say the closest and the latest is that these new scanners, Uniden in particular, have a feature where you can prioritize weather scanning with alert. It will scan silently without you having to listen all day to NOAA weather radio. It'll scan in the background all NOAA weather radio channels. It will lock on to the strongest one that it hears at any given time, and it will listen for that 1050 hertz on-page alert tone, that long C group call. When that goes out, it's going to make a siren noise, it'll flash the display, and then it'll tell you what's happening. You don't have to touch anything, you don't have to do anything, you don't have to think about it. And that's one of the primary reasons I think all storm chasers should have one of these devices. Let's say you're a guy that just wants the NOAA and you don't want to pay $330 something, $340, $350, $400 for a BCD 996P2 or a BCD 536HP. Well, on the used market to this day are the BCT15X. It's an analog version of this modern version of scanner that features the same NOAA weather radio scanning and alerting that the 996P2 does. So something to think about. You can usually get them still new in the box on eBay for less than $150 if you look. P25 Phase 1 and 2. But now they've added support for NextEdge and IDAS Digital, including trunking features of NextEdge and IDAS Digital. DMR, Moto Turbo, tiers 1, 2, and 3. It will successfully and easily track Connect Plus and Capacity Plus trunking systems on DMR. What do I mean by all of these different formats I just rattled off, and why should you care? Well, I'll quickly explain. Some of you remember the late 90s and the early 2000s when the trunking digital came along, and you likely turned your scanner into a glorified NOAA receiver or threw it in the dustbin altogether. The technical term for those systems split primarily into three products, were Motorola Type 2 trunking with P25 digital voice, Harris EDAX with Pro Voice digital, and Tyco Macom OpenSky digital, now a product of Harris. We're not even going to talk about OpenSky digital. It's on its way out. Most of the places that have it are getting rid of it as fast as they can. For a lot of you, gone though were the simple days of FM analog, and even you guys who were most advanced at the time might have had something like a Radio Shack Pro 2066. Even LTR and Motorola analog trunking systems were becoming a thing of the past. Now, as you might have guessed, those formats are now considered dinosaurs. The new digital formats are more advanced, more capable, and more resilient, but they have also never been easier to listen to. Why should you care about these new formats? Well, for one, considerations, national and international standards. The days of everyone making up their own proprietary vocoders or trunking formats are drawing to a close. P25 is a product of APCO Project 25, which is now the standard in the United States for public safety that all radios purchased with FEMA funds have to meet. It works one way and only that way, and is a government open standard. Are your local governments getting FEMA money to build new radio systems? Well, if they are, it's going to be P25 Phase 1 or 2. What about legacy Harris Pro Voice systems? Some of those are still around, right? Oh, of course they are. Oklahoma City and Lincoln, among a dwindling few, are using Pro Voice until they get grants to build new P25 systems. Also, little known outside of Iowa, Illinois, and some other Midwestern locations, there is an enormous private business trunk system known as Raycom. Those locations have been using for public safety for more than 20 years, and it's a Harris EDAC system which makes some use of Pro Voice. This shouldn't be around much longer as Raycom is in the process of migrating to P25, but the EDAX part of the system should be online until that transition is complete. NextEdge Digital and Moto Turbo Digital are actually referred to as Digital Private Mobile Radio and Digital Mobile Radio, which are two different open standards that are recognized by the ITU. NextEdge, IDAS, and DMR, why should you care about those? If you've noticed them at all, you've probably said, well, that's for businesses like security guard services and garbage companies and taxi cabs. Well, yes and no. You see, not everyone can get a grant to migrate to these new P25 systems, and as a matter of fact, already stretched small departments and municipalities have a great difficulty in obtaining grants, so they have to go with what they can afford. In an increasing number of cases, that solution is NextEdge or Moto Turbo and DMR. The town decides it's going to put up a new radio system for their police, fire, EMS, DPW, and animal warden. They're not going to pay P25 money. They're going to pay half or a quarter of that and put everyone on the same clear digital system that just works. Mostly these are the places in the mountains and the plains that had to put up their own LTR trunking systems in the 90s, or one or two VHF channels that had every department in town on them, and now they need to replace that. They're not paying for P25, they're going NextEdge, they're going DMR, and that's why you should have it. So what scanner should I get? Well, I'm going to go ahead and say it outright. The Uniden BCD996P2 for mobile use. If you prefer a portable unit, the BCD325P2 is in the same class and does all the same stuff. We'll go ahead and say that scanner programming is no longer done by the front panel. Well, sure, you can do it, but why would you want to? Everything is programmed like a public safety radio these days with sites and trunking channels and talk group assignments, and that's just simply too much to do from the front panel. And in addition to that, all of these scanners have alpha tagging, so you can actually see what the channels are called. I highly recommend Butel.nl for Butel software. For the BCD996P2, that would be ARC-XT, which is fully upgraded to the new NextEdge and DMR and Pro Voice options. Also, I would say to get a subscription to Radio Reference. Radio Reference will allow you to pull all of the trunking systems you need directly from their website through the Butel software if you are a member of the site. So go ahead and do that and make your life a lot easier. You don't want to be transposing this stuff chart for chart because there's really no other way to do it. The new BCD996P2 and BCD325P2 utilize a simple mini USB plug. They no longer have a proprietary programming cable. For you guys that want to save a little bit of money and you don't need all of the digital features or the P25 Phase 2 trunking features and what have you, there are several other variants, including the BCD996XT, which does not do the NextEdge Digital, DMR, Pro Voice, or P25 Phase 2 options, and the BCD996T, which is a little slower and still does not do those options. And even cheaper is the BCT15 and BCT15X, which does not even do any form of digital, simply does analog. And this will be the choice of most of your guys who just use their scanner for NOAA alerting. I'm not taking a super long time to touch on this because it's just so easy and it's such a no-brainer you should just go ahead and do it. But every scanner I've mentioned so far in this video can be used with the Uniden BC-GPS-K, which is Uniden's proprietary GPS puck. When you have this turned on in the software and it's connected to the radio, you don't even have to press bank buttons anymore. You don't have to press anything. Adjust the volume every now and then if you need it, but it'll follow you around the country, locking and unlocking zones and banks while you go. Alright guys, we're almost done here. I promise we're almost done. The last thing we're going to tackle today is antennas. What scanner antenna should you have? Well, I'm going to tell you plainly and flatly. Drill the hole. There is only one acceptable choice for a magnet mount scanner antenna, and only like one person in the country still has that. Are you as cool as Shane Adams? No? Then you don't get the Radio Shack twin coil stack scanner antenna, and you must drill a hole. Me personally, I use a PCTEL spring-loaded VHF quarter wave base with a Motorola 800 MHz rod whip antenna inside of it. Now, this is an oddball combination, but it resonates perfectly on a lot of frequencies, and I have this mounted through the sheet metal on the fender of my car with a 3/4 inch NMO mount. Drill the hole, you'll be glad you did. Superior ground plane, superior aesthetics, and superior signal. So sorry for going so long on that, but that is something that's kind of in-depth and needs to be discussed. And some people are going to say to go with the Whistler, and I say, yeah, why not? I mean, Whistler is just about as good as Uniden, except that they don't track NextEdge and that there's some issues with DMR Tier 3 and some other things. I would just say, go with the brand that's been doing it the longest. Everybody knows Uniden Bearcat for a reason. Just go with the Uniden. Anyway, I am B. Barry. This has been the debut episode of Trees and Truck Stops. Thank you for watching. If you like what you see, hit that subscribe button down there and check out the links in the description. I urge you to take a look into this more in depth and consider whether a scanner would be right for you, because I think it will be. Anyway, until next time, this is B. Barry. Thanks and good luck.